Hey everybody, I'm Dan Fradenburgh, and this is the REI Rocks review. And I just totally had Don Spafford a moment ago because I was saying, usually these countdowns, I just kill them early because, why put people through the suspense? And it hit me is that, if you're a bit of an obsessive type, you might need to see that countdown. And so just to make sure everybody's represented, that's why I was like, you know what? Let's roll with it. But Angel, we're here. What's going on? Tell everybody.
Oh, we are here with the REI Rocks review. This is where we go back through previous summit content and we break it down and we make sure that you get the big pieces and ideas out of it that are the most important, at least in our opinions.
And one of my favorite parts is we get to guilt trip our friends into hanging out with us over live stream, like my good friend Don Spafford. Don, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm actually happy to be here with you guys on live stream. You guys are friends, so what's wrong with that? Yeah.
Well, Jason just got in too, so he should be hopping on here in a little bit.
All right, it's going to be a real party. All right, so Don, we caught you just as you were starting with commercial real estate. I know that we're going to be talking about some of that stuff, but I've been telling you for at least 8 months now that you are on the tip of everybody's tongue these days. Whenever somebody's saying multifamily, I'm not, the returns, you're not really getting steep discounts. So when they're looking for alternatives, you're one of the first ones that come to mind. And so do you, how much do you recall about your presentation? Are we just going to repeat ourselves if you tell your story now, or what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of, I don't very much, I guess, from what I do share, because it's kind of the same stuff I repeat over and over. So I'm sure to some degree that it'd just be more or less repeated, but maybe some slight changes and things. But I don't know. I guess feel free to ask whatever questions people have, or go deeper into something. I guess I don't know.
For sure. All right, cool. So the other thing that I think is really cool about these reviews is that we watch them at 1.5 times playback speed, which is great because I seem to be very quickly getting into a situation where I can't handle 1.0 speed anymore. I'll be kind of looking for the door. So usually I watch at 2 times speed. And when you watch at those kinds of speeds, you can get half of your day back, at least, when you're consuming content. So I think it's really exciting stuff. And that's what we're going for right now. So, Angel, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we get started here?
I don't think so.
Okay, then rock and roll. So let's see Dawn's presentation.
Hey, guys. We have an amazing guest today. Don has been with us since, I guess, kind of his beginning. We've been around for just a little bit, and he has blown up. And now he has really started focusing on a specific asset class that not a lot of people know about. I know I personally, up until just a few days ago, I really equated RV parks with mobile home communities. And even though there's a little bit of similarity, they're just totally different. So, Don, I'm going to take over and intro yourself, and then we can just get into whatever you want to talk about.
Thanks, Angel. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm excited to be back here for two in a row. I guess I was in your spring and now your fall summit, so that's pretty exciting for me. So yeah, I appreciate that, and I'll try my best this time. Hopefully, to not break down in tears or talk too fast. We'll do my best.
Oh, it is what it is.
No promises though. No promises. Things come up. Let me, if you want, I'll start a screen share here. Kind of show you, about me, and
let me know if it doesn't let you, but it should.
Just hang on a second.
Now we get to relive the fear.
Yeah.
Will the screen come up?
There we go. Screen share. Right, the green button. The one I can't see.
Oh, you pulled one?
The beauty of technology. I can't see. I'm saying it's just
okay.
Just only because it's right from my face.
I was gonna feel really bad if you had issues seeing color. I'd be like, oh my god, I didn't even lead him to it. I could have been like, it's one in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, no problem. The typical thing, the time of the need, I get distracted and can't find what I need to find. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So yeah. So like you said, of course, you can see behind me, I'm with Happy Camper Capital. It's kind of a unique niche that we're in that is kind of really blown up lately. People are getting it, getting attention. People are seeing what we're doing and wanting to get involved. You also see on the screen Beyonder. That's our sister company that does our campground management. So they manage all our properties and also other third-party campgrounds as well. So what we're here to do, of course, we're here to help people make money. Obviously, most people do business to make money. So that's also what we're here for, is to make money for investors. That's great generational wealth, but also to great experiences. People that can come to our campgrounds and have fun and create lasting memories. So who am I? There's a little bit about me here. So,
Well, there's a good place to pause.
Yeah.
Because, like I'm the guy who, most of the time when I'm on the screen, when I'm not on REI Rocks reviews, I'm talking about 506B compliance, and I'm saying it's like, hey, be careful what you say when it comes to returns and things like that. But Don, you tend to do 506C deals. Do you want to say a word or two about that?
Yeah, well, first of all, for those that are watching, I'm here talking about a screen that's not shown on this screen, so it might be a bit confusing here what I'm exactly pointing out. But yeah, no, we actually started off doing 506Bs. And the reason for that is we want to actually help people to become accredited investors. We want more people to have opportunity to get into these types of great deals, because usually, even myself in the past, I've talked about this before, is that it seems like the very best deals are only 506Cs. And so like for the average guy trying to get in one of those deals, like, it's impossible. And so we were therefore having something that people wanted to get into and could get into. So we still plan to do 506B deals. We're not done doing them at all. But as of right now, our focus is the 506C fund that we currently have. So yeah, and the reason for that, there's, I guess several reasons for it, but and just the it's going to help us, I guess, to get our name out there more, get noticed more by more people, and to get this fund completely filled and running and operating. It will be a great I guess resource to turn back to use to kind of say, here's what we have done, here's how this fund is returning with these multiple properties in that fund, to give that consistent cash flow throughout the year and that kind of stuff. So I think in the long run, it will help us to be able to therefore reach more of the non-accredited investors and have something to show them that will say, here's kind of a proof of concept type thing, So at some point, we may even create a 506B fund, possibly. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at now.
That's really awesome. And the thing that I think needs to be emphasized is, like, you were in rooms with us where people were only talking about multifamily. Like that's, the discussion was not about alternatives at all.
Yeah.
And then you took it upon yourself to say, it's like, okay, well, when I look at, what has more room, this is the direction you went in, and it's pretty exciting, because everybody was saying, yeah, should look into that, and then suddenly you were doing it, and like, I don't know. Well, in 2022, are you okay with saying how many acquisitions you made?
So just in 2022 for campgrounds, we purchased 4 in that year. So we currently have 5 now. We had 1 from 2021, so we've got 5 in our portfolio currently. Hopefully about to close on a couple more here in the next couple months. But we're we definitely set our sets high. We had a much higher goal to close on for last year, but still, 4 is not bad. I think that it will still kind of give us that I guess momentum going, so that we'll close on more this year. So we've already got one that we're hopefully going to be closing on in about a month, and then another one a couple months after that, and then keep that moving forward and rolling. Hopefully, I'm sure that's just like a lot of people right now are having some difficulty with capital raising, because a lot of people are still fearful of the economy and the markets and everything's going on. So people are holding on to their cash right now, it seems. So yeah, we're obviously us, just like anybody else. So we're dependent on our investors to help be able to get these deals done. So we still have our high goal, but we'll see how things go this year.
Right. And that fearfulness is a little bit weird when you realize that inflation is a sure bet to lose. You're always going to lose. If you've got a hoard of cash because you're waiting, you're always going to lose due to inflation.
Right.
So it's a pretty scary thing completely. And then as far as multifamily goes, Angel, you've been in this longer than I have. So it's my experience that if somebody can get one commercial deal per year, consistently, and they're great deals, then that that is like, like Derek Jeter level performance, it's like, yeah, bet on that guy, because like at least they'll have something on the go. And then like if you're like for a year, that is like 100% rock star status, I'd say. Like, Angel, what's your take?
We've done one a year for the past couple of years, and even when we were in single family, until we did the portfolio, it wasn't more than one a year. I mean, one a year is better than none a year. So it's I don't know. It's when I think about like what I've learned about RV parks, those are going to be more difficult, because it's not just the four walls and a roof. It might be a convenience store. It might be a shower area. It might be a laundry facility area. It might be a propane tank area. I mean, like there's all these other things that are going on with an RV park. And so even though multifamily has a lot of moving parts, sometimes I feel like RV parks have more, because there's more things going on with them. And that's just what I've learned. Yep. I'm by no means an expert. It's what I've picked up over the past couple of years.
Yep.
Right. And it's a short-term rental model, really, right, Don?
Yeah, much more comparable to that, or even like a hotel. I guess you could also give me as a close comparison. Much more comparable, at least, than like multifamily. And yeah, you're right, Angel. There's a lot of moving parts, and that's why it's very staff dependent and intensive, right? Our labor costs are getting much higher than paying a property manager to oversee your property. So there's a lot to it for sure. But it's not something that can't be done, obviously. So just you get the right people there to work it and staff it and manage it, then it'll run great. The main goal is obviously to create a great guest experience for the people that are there, the campers that are there, that they feel they're being taken care of, they're enjoying their time, not feel like there's nobody there to help them or answer questions or whatever. As long as you can meet their needs and keep them happy, then they're happy to be there and they'll come back for more.
Absolutely.
Right. So there's a big distinction to keep in mind, which is that it's not a mobile home park, because it's not long term. It's a hospitality thing, as you mentioned. Angel, you were going to say something?
Well, there can be some long term tenants in an RV park. So that's
right.
It's like you do have, there's like a specific percentage, usually it's like 10 to 15% you have there as permanent residents. Is that correct, Don?
No, I mean that doesn't have to be. So there are the kind of distinction. There are RV parks which are much fully long term or mostly long term.
Okay.
On our campgrounds, we tend to go after that transient campground model. So we there may be some long term on there when we take them over. We may even in the end keep some, but typically if they are more long term on there, we'll kind of turn them over to that short term as time goes on, to replace them and get more of that full transient short term campground model, just because it is much more profitable in the long run, and usually less problems as well. You get people that live there long term. It kind of in the end gets that, can go towards that typical I guess vision of what you think of like a mobile home park, where it starts to get trashy and things built up around it. Not the same mobile home parks all like that, but that specific type of thing that people come to mind when people think of that stuff, though. But there's not, for what we're doing, there's not I'd say a requirement that has to have a certain percentage of it be that.
Okay.
I know some banks like to see that. They want to see that just for kind of consistent, I guess,
like a
income to cover the costs and things. But depending on who you're working with, the lender, as long as the business has been there for a while and operating with it as a full-on resort, then no, that's not a requirement. You'll see a lot of the very large campgrounds, for example, like these, you'll see like the Jellystone type thing with the Yogi Bear things. Those are much more like the resort style as well. So they don't have long-term campers typically. So you might get some seasonal. So I don't know if you're referring to long-term as the seasonal campers that might stay there for, all of summer or all of winter or something. So they might be there for a few months, but typically not there the year round.
Yeah, so I brought up the distinction between a mobile home park versus the campgrounds that you're working in, and the reason is because of my background in digital security. It makes me look for vulnerabilities. It makes me look for like mistakes in the plan. Achilles heels, right? So in that the only way that's going to happen is if you've got like tens of millions of dollars worth of revenue going through the things. But the thing that came up when I was looking at mobile home parks, as far as like moving pieces, like you mentioned, Angel, is that in single family or in multifamily, there's one thing that you're never going to have to deal with that you deal with a mobile home park, which is that they can leave their house on your property, and nobody's going to leave a house on your house or a house on the apartment building. So you don't have to, like, that's a rather major concern as far as I'm concerned, because it's like, oh wow, you've got somebody else's property that's not supposed to be here, and now I got to jump through some legal hoops just because you're not allowed to just mess with people's property without due process, right? So I imagine that's one of the things that you've got as a huge advantage over the mobile home parks. So that's what was going through my head anyway.
Yeah, interesting. I never thought about that problem, but yeah, I could see that being an issue.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want to move it, and Jason clearly has a lot to say on the subject. So, but let's continue.
It's a quick little collage of me and what I do. This is my family. We have 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy. We do like to travel and do fun activities. We do, of course, hold religion very, very high in our I guess morals and for our guidance in our life, I guess. I graduated from the University of Nebraska at Omaha, as you can see up there in the top right corner, magna cum laude, with a degree in finance, banking, investment science, portfolio management, and accounting. So four majors, I guess. I do have a fascination for ancient Egypt culture. That painting you see there, I painted that myself, a life-size mural on the basement wall of our house in Omaha, Nebraska at the time. My hobbies, I enjoy coin collecting. So I'm kind of a nerd, I guess, in that, right? But yeah, so that's kind of a bit about me. I started with my very first property in 2017, bought a fourplex for $264,000. Which is unheard of at this point right now. I can't even buy a single family for that price. But bought that here near me in Idaho. I paid 10% down payment on that with a local lender that does 10% down payments on investment properties, and I leveraged almost all of that from my 401k because I pretty much had zero savings or even amount of money to invest. I had a lot of debt, should not have been investing, but I saw this as the only way, really, the only solution to improve our.
All right, I just wanted to point out that this is one of the reasons why it's so important to have relationships with your local banks and lenders, because he only had to put 10% down. As Jason and I were getting more and more of our single families, it got tougher because putting 20% down on each one of those became pretty laborsome, I guess, burdensome to try and get that much money together. And so if you've got really strong relationships with local lenders and local banks, they can work some magic for you so that you don't have to figure out how you're going to pull together 20% every single time you're going to make some kind of an investment. Because like on a $250,000 property, that's what, $50,000? That's a lot of money. That's what many people make in an entire year.
Yeah.
So just kind of putting that out there for you.
Yeah, for sure. For me, honestly, if in this case, usually with multifamily or at least above 2 doors, typically most lenders want 25% down. It's not even 20, 25. So for me on that property, if I would have had to come with 25%, even if I could have gotten that much from my 401k, I probably wouldn't have done it. I mean, that's too much of a risk to pull from my 401k, and so I guess it would have been, I think, probably my limit too, as far as I could take as a loan for my 401k. So I would have had no other backup. The way I looked at that point when I took, essentially I borrowed $20,000 from my 401k on that $26,000 down payment, and so I had, I could take up to 2 loans for my 401k, or up to, I think, 50,000 max or something like that. So I can take out 1 more loan if I need to, if some emergency comes up. Again, I had no savings really, so I was really taking a huge risk on buying this property. But it's like, well, if I, something really, really bad happens, I need to tap some more money, I can borrow from my 401k again, which was my, I guess, backup plan if that were to happen. Luckily it didn't, and I never had to, but so if I would have had to take a much larger amount out for a bigger down payment, I probably would not have ever bought that property, and would probably still be now just wanting to get involved in real estate. So
you probably still have a 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly. So So yeah, so
But,
definitely, I tell people all the times, like, don't settle because your lender you talk to says you need 25% down or whatever. Keep searching around. There are other lenders out there. The properties, I think we talked about here, that the second and third fourplexes I bought as a package, I used 15% down on those. So I never once paid for more than 15% down on the property I've purchased.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really something. And I just want to emphasize again that you did just hear commercial real estate people say that there is such a thing as investing too heavily in real estate. Okay. So you're not going to hear that every day, but that's why it's so important to have a network of great people who will really tell you the truth. And the best way I can think of to get a network of great people for free is to join us on Marvelous Mondays, which you can do by visiting that link at the bottom of the screen, or you could grab your phone and you can scan that code right there. Angel, do you want to say a thing or two about Marvelous Mondays and what makes them so marvelous?
Absolutely. So on the Marvelous Mondays meetup, you're going to see about 25 to 35, maybe 40 other like-minded individuals that we all come and we hang out. It's pretty low-key and laid back. And we're not always talking real estate. Sometimes we're just developing friendships, and that can be super important too. So we'd love to see you there. It's at theacademypresents.com/meetup link, or scan the QR code, and we'd love to see you there.
Excellent. And this is the REI Rocks review, and we are reviewing Don Spafford's presentation at the Fall 2022 Summit. And basically what we're doing on this show is we review content from the summit. Maybe it's a masterclass interview like this one, or sometimes it's a panel discussion, but we watch it at 1.5 times speed so that you find out how to consume this sort of pre-recorded content in a way that will get you successfully understanding how commercial real estate works in a much shorter amount of time. So let's continue.
Our financial situation to not have to go into bankruptcy. It took about 1.5 years later, bought 2 more properties in Arkansas, also with a 15% down payment there. And then kind of right after that, the third deal came up was this opportunity to get on this land flip deal, which I actually have $0 invested in that. One that I had come to me. I got under contract, found a couple partners that wanted to get involved with it. They brought the money. So there we are. We're kind of bidding now if we want to just sell it or possibly build on it. But maybe about 1 year after that or so, the fourth deal kind of came up. That little drawing you see at the bottom there is a 5-unit development project. We just broke ground on this week, actually, here at the end of August. It took about 1.5 years to get to that point. Neither myself or my partners had any experience or clue what we're doing with developing, but I just, again, saw a great opportunity. And then, I jumped on it again, got that land deal, got under contract first, the land, and then found a partner that could, help bring some money and liquidity to make sure we can get this deal done. And then kind of right after that happened, I got involved with that fifth deal, which is a large, almost 800-unit development project in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Just
holy night.
Kind of go back to this old networking thing we talked about in the spring summit. The met right people ahead of time, and they actually approached me to invest with them in a smaller deal before this. And I just put it out there to say, hey, I'm networking with people like Angel Williams, people that invested in these kind of things. Would you like to have me come on and help you guys to bring capital to your deals? And they agreed. So I was able to join that group and get involved in this project. We have another one coming up in the near future as well, in a different state. So that's kind of where
amazing.
I got started.
Wow, this is amazing.
Right. So from here, though, as this was going on between that fourth and fifth deal, I was still trying to get involved in more, general, multifamily apartment syndications like most people do, because that's, what everybody does, it seems like. And again, that's kind of the problem, is everybody's doing it. So it made it very difficult for me to find deals that I considered, worthwhile for the returns. All these deals here, as you'll see, they're smaller deals and whatnot, but they all had very high returns on them. So that's kind of why I specifically chose these and didn't go after any other thing that came up. And so I kind of had that expectation I can still find these high cash flow or high return opportunities, and I wasn't finding them. I wasn't finding them on my own to go find properties to bring on partners or take to syndicators, and I wasn't finding any syndication deals that really were attractive to me as far as it being an LP investor in something to get great returns. So I was trying to be patient, holding on there. I started to get to the point where I thought maybe there is nothing better out there, and just about to just get involved with some syndications just to have some money in play and be involved, to not feel like I'm missing out. But I was like, no, I gotta just be patient. Something will come along. And so it was about 1 year ago, summer of 2021 or so, maybe late summer. I heard on a podcast somebody talking about RV campgrounds as an investment option, something like I'd never heard about, and most people have not either. And so I started looking more into that. I realized, where I live in eastern Idaho, close to Yellowstone Park and mountains and things, people here go camping. They have campers and RVs. So I saw there's possibly an opportunity there. I talked to some of my neighbors in the past. I talked to my neighbors about investing in multifamily or other things, and they all said no, it's not something they understand. They're afraid of it. It's not, they're not investors. But when I approached them about
So, Don, these RVs, do they generally run on diesel?
um, I don't know. It depends. I think most of the newer ones think are gas. A lot of the older ones are diesel. In most cases, people I think are also just buying. They call it the fifth wheel trailer, like the big thing they're going to tow behind your truck.
Right.
Yeah, but the I guess the interesting thing, of course, the way things are going, we're seeing a lot more electrical RVs coming out now as well. So that's a thing coming up as well, or even just the campers themselves that have additional motors and batteries that connect to your RV truck to give you more distance for your towing on your electrical vehicle. So yeah, there's pretty much everything's out there. But I think that the more recently most of them are gas powered.
So Angel, you and I are somewhat known for lack of filter. And one of the things, right? And one of the things that comes to mind about a difference between a summit and this format here on REI Rocks Review is because this is a little bit more hidden. Like I can turn around and ask that kind of question because like that was my concern about the business model of RV campgrounds was increasing fuel costs, but fuel. At least gasoline, it's much more under control right now than it was in October, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I was looking at some Class A's. Jason doesn't actually know this, but some of the Class A's do run on diesel, but then their generators are like unleaded fuel. So I think the diesel gives you more torque, so it can get the bigger, heavier things up hills.
Yeah, and they go more distance. They're slower burners. But after I finished talking, I was thinking, the Class A motorhomes, like the big like buses, those are still mostly usually diesel, I think. So, but in regards to your question, Dan, about gas, and this is obviously is a concern that has been coming up for a while, but that's also goes back to our buying criteria. We're not buying something that's just out in the middle of nowhere. You have to drive 2 days to get to whatever. Our properties are specifically within about a 2-hour drive of a major city. So most people are not going to drive cross country right now in a big RV or something that gets 8 miles per gallon or something. But but if you own one already, in particular, you still want to use it. You're going to get out. Most people are willing to drive a couple hours to go stay somewhere and have fun and use it. So that kind of gets over that, I guess, concern. As most people would say. I think even anybody here would say, I would drive a couple hours to go to a concert or to go on a short vacation or something, right? So that kind of is kind of I guess a null point for most people that it's not as much of a concern as saying we're going to take a cross country trip.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of what y'all are doing too is when you go to one of y'all's RV parks, it's more than just park on a concrete slab. Y'all have like activities and there's things to do at your parks. It's more of like a destination kind of park, right?
Yep, exactly. People are going there because that's where they're going to take their vacation. They're going to go out and have fun. We're not just sitting on a piece of land and starting a campfire. There of course is that aspect of it too, but there's all the other activities. You're going there because you want to relax, go out and go boating, go fishing, go again go to a concert event, possibly go horseback riding, whatever it may be. Tons of different activities. Play on the lake. Just have a day out and go have fun. That's the reason for going there, more than just camping.
Awesome.
So as far as like, I'm not sure what the cost would be, and the only reason I'm interested in understanding it is just for the business model. It's like, so like if you have one of those big bus-sized RVs and you're driving it a total of 4 hours, right? 2 hours there, 2 hours back. You're not going to be spending like $300 in diesel, would you? Is that?
No idea. I don't have anything diesel myself. So I can't really tell you how much distance you actually get and all that. But but I'm sure you could. You would not need to fill up. I don't think to go there and back. Usually those going to have giant tanks that last a long distance. So that should be fine.
Because I'm comparing it to yachts and airplanes, and also just like an Airbnb, like that kind of expense. And so it's like, if you're talking about, fuel prices being ridiculous, and it being the difference between, like $200 worth of fuel and $300 worth of fuel, or $350, I don't think it's really going to, negatively impact people's inclination to go to one of the sites. So it sounds even more solid than I originally gave it credit for. So
sure, yeah, it's definitely still a cheaper vacation than, like you're saying, going to pay for a hotel or Airbnb and pay for whatever attraction you're going to go to. Pay to get into some other park or activity thing. So still is a much more, we'll say, affordable vacation stay for people, which is, again, is what helps with the being more recession resistant as well, as people are trying to, again, as we talked about at the very beginning here, people are holding back on their money. So instead of, I don't want to take a trip to Disney World, right? I want to go, spend a few $100 or something to go have some fun and come back home, but and not spend thousands, right? So yeah, there's that's a big aspect to it as well. That is why these properties do so well.
Excellent. All right, let's continue.
What do you think about campgrounds? I had a different reaction because this is something they actually now use. They go to these places, so it makes sense for them to invest in something they understand. So I started going to more webinars and just meet up events of people in this space of the RV campgrounds. And then I met a couple guys there, Adam Lindy and Justin Hoggett. They had just closed on their first property in early 2021, and we're looking to grow their team, expand, and to do more. So we discussed and talked about our goals, for me and for them, and where they see the company going. And everything seemed to align. And on top of that, the returns they were getting were just kind of blew me away. I was like, wow, this is a huge opportunity. I was still a bit hesitant or scared at the times because, as I said, I was focused on multifamily. I didn't know enough about the space. Everybody I interacted with on meetups and masterminds were all multifamily. So I was a bit afraid that I might get laughed at or kicked out or something. But the more I thought about this, I realized, there's a huge opportunity here. I don't want to, 5 years later, regret not taking that chance and have missed out this great opportunity to get these great returns early on, and then possibly a new niche that could be exploding. So I realized, I decided, it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. If they can laugh at me, kick me out, it doesn't matter. I'm not doing what I do for them. I'm doing it for me. So I was like, what do I got to lose? Let's give it a shot. So I joined up with Happy Camp Capital last November of 2021, and just been loving it since. Honestly, it's been a great experience. So what do? We purchase RV resorts and campgrounds. So these are destination resorts. So there's amenities and fun things to do, activities, things that bring you there not just for camping, but you're coming there to go, boating or possibly concert events, different kinds of things that bring you there for whatever's going on. Of course, we in most cases are going direct to the owners. Most of these are not brokered deals. There are some, but and we do acquire those as well. But most of ours come directly from the owners. We call up the campgrounds directly, talk to the owners, work out a deal if they're willing to sell. Obviously, not all of them want to sell, but those that do, we work it out and then provide these amazing opportunities to our investors. And of course, the ones that don't want to sell just yet, we'll still try to sell them on our management aspect. They still own their property, but kind of free themselves of the time consumption to manage it. And then we can get in there and put our systems in place. And eventually down the road, when they are ready to sell, of course, we'll be there just to take that over. So again, these are RV campground resorts, not mobile home parks. The term often gets confused, I guess, misconception, whatever I'm trying to think of the word here, but misconstrued maybe. So there's a term RV parks, which is the term most people throw around and use. For us, RV parks are more similar to mobile home parks. These are ones where people live there long term, but they do live in RVs typically, so it's more similar to like a mobile home park. Not much amenities. That's not what we buy. We are again after the full-on resort campgrounds. Again, fun thing to do. It's more similar to like say a resort hotel or something like a short-term rental Airbnb at a multifamily scale. So people come and have a good time. Maybe for a weekend, a week, maybe a full month or a full season, and then they go back home. So people are not living there long term. So what is great about that is obviously it provides us much higher cash flow as compared to a long-term stay. Just, if you're comparing short-term rental to a standard long-term rental, the short-term rental typically is going to produce much higher income. So these properties we go after, again, like you see the picture there, that type of RV, those vehicles are not cheap. We're talking, usually the price of a house or more possibly. So the people that are buying them are typically have higher spendable income. They're not as affected by, we'll say, recessions or downturns. They're not going to probably lose their jobs, and they have to have high income jobs. They're not at risk of losing. So those people, they have those vehicles, those toys, we'll call them, sitting in their driveway or somewhere in storage. They want to use them. They don't want to have them sitting there and not being used for spending that much money on these things. So they're going to go out and use them. So because of that, this niche is kind of more recession resistant. We target campgrounds that are within a 2 or 3 hour drive of a major population center, kind of because for that reason. Somebody has something like that, it's not going to drive it across the country right now. Our gas prices are $6 and up per gallon probably, but they still will go out a few hours drive just to go use it and go have fun. So that kind of helps us with that that risk there that people often bring up. Dan, if you want to pause and just on top of that, this industry is. Okay, so this is like a real thing. So just in the last couple of weeks or so, I had a call with a doctor. Who's talking about one of his clients just recently bought a $500,000 this RV, and he was of course blown away. He's like, "What? You spent $500,000 on an RV?" And he says this doctor or the client of this doctor, right? He's a high income guy, but apparently they go on these like RV caravans. He said him and some bunch of their friends. They one person in the group makes a reservation for a certain place again, almost like a year in advance. and they do this like caravan of like 9 to 12 RVs, all these like very high end, $500,000 $1 million RVs, and take these trips someplace. They all just choose a destination, they go there, right? So again, it's going to go to the point that these are, the people are using these properties are across the board. You got the super wealthy high end guys, like I'll even say like in some movie stars I've seen, they have like these $2 million RVs, right? And then you've got the average Joe that has maybe a $20,000 camper they're towing behind a truck or something. So the good community where everybody can kind of be mixed together and have fun and for the most part not have any differences because of their lifestyle class, I guess, or something, right? They're all there to have fun and they can hang out together.
So about like for talent agents or like booking agents for like music, things like that, is that the sort of thing where you really get economies of scale? So like if you've got like 8 campgrounds or something like that and you're booking for all of them, then maybe you could get like somebody who's actually like kind of like a big deal or something like that. Is that how that works?
What do you mean, like as far as like giving them a reservation or getting a discount, or what are you talking about?
So I'm saying about like if you're booking like famous musicians, like having like actual concerts, with big headliners or something like that. So it hits me like I don't know if you guys already have somebody who does that, or if that's something more like down the road. But like it hits me that if you have a few different venues, then you could actually talk to like bigger names. So it's kind of exciting.
For sure. We are currently in process of building a amphitheater stage at one of our properties, which we will then be doing those types of bookings. Not to say we're going to be getting like the major big name concerts at a campground, right? But it'd still be a place for sure for people who want to do like an outdoor concert event or something at maybe a smaller scale, which sometimes some of these big names like to do, some of these smaller venues as well. So it could be potential. But as far as just being like for just having somebody do those bookings you're talking about,
right?
It's not something we have yet, obviously, because we're not to that point just yet. But as we get further along with this stage build and stuff, then I think we're working on that. At least for the one that's in that area, we're reaching out to some like the local, event things going on there, local bands or whatever, maybe just at least to get it started and going. And then as we build up that, we'll see where that leads, I guess. I have had some contact with some people I know that do, I guess concert bookings and things like that. So could reach out to some of those resources as well and say, hey, if you've got people want to come to a campground, do a outdoor concert, we'd love to have them. So yeah, if anybody else is listening on this and then has those types of connections, feel free to reach out to me too. So
yeah, and Dave Chappelle had that one special where he was it was during COVID. He ended up doing that out in the open. So even stand-up comedy might be something you could do, but you probably have to have pretty tame, like Jim Gaffigan would be fine, I think.
Right. Yeah. Most cases the campgrounds are family oriented for sure. So yeah, we wouldn't have something that would be offensive.
Right.
But,
the other weird thing that was coming to my head, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because of Jason, but it just makes me think about underwriting, and it was hitting me that like when you're talking about a campground, I think like a single T12 is totally not going to cut it, right? Because like each year, I think you're going to have a lot more variety in how things perform. So like what's standard for that? Like, do you want to see like at least 2 years before you'd even think about making an offer, or like, am I out to lunch on that?
No, yeah, we typically ask for at least 3 years. 3 to 5 is ideal.
Excellent. And speaking of underwriting, I love having graphics on top of the screen like this. So if there's any room in your underwriting, or if your underwriting is showing, then I don't know. I'm just talking about stuff. So Angel, do you want to say what Jason's services here are for commercial deals?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's really a sliding scale array of possibilities. Jason can be at the very basic level, just look at your numbers in your own spreadsheet, or he can look at your numbers in his spreadsheet, or he can take it even deeper, and he could be so intense in what you're asking him to do that he actually becomes a member of your team as your underwriter. So there's a wide array of what he can do, and it's all on his portion of the website. So if you go to theacademypresents.com/UW for underwriting, you'll get to see what there is to offer. And then we also have a new link so that you can actually schedule time with him, and it will go toward the overall purchase price after that meeting. Yeah. So that one's actually theacademypresents.com/Jason.
And I'll throw in a plug here as well. You know, as we were talking here, these, you know, underwriting an RV campground is very different than underwriting multifamily or something else that pretty much has a single main income source, right? So over the time, we've had to create our own tools for this because there's nothing out there to pull from to make. And so we've been wanting to upgrade that for some time and get something much more it's profound and better. And we actually worked with Jason to help develop a tool specifically for our needs. So I'll say I'm grateful for Jason and his skills to help make that happen. Yeah, he was the first one when we were discussing it internally. I was like, I know a guy that could probably help us, So and luckily he was able to do that. So.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, it was a challenge doing it. I was trying to keep quiet during a lot of the questions because I didn't know what I can and can't reveal. So I'll just let Dawn reveal it.
Well, that comes down to another part of Jason's services. He can do a custom create for you. So he can ground up develop your spreadsheet. And he does that. He's coding it. We're not using somebody else's. It's from his head. So.
All right. Still there, Dan? You're mute.
Uh-oh.
Well, it sounded really great over here, I got to tell you. But yeah, so what I was trying to say is that this is the REI Rocks Review. We start this live stream at 11 a.m. Eastern every Friday, and we go through this content at 1.5 times speed because that makes me much happier. And then we pause it when we have something clever to say. So let's get back to it.
Is in huge demand especially since the pandemic hit. People can't travel to Disney World or on international trips, myself included. We had to cancel one in 2020. So people still can or did then and still do now go to these campgrounds as a way to still get out and do something, go have fun, but still feel like you're in your own private space. But you can also still be outdoors. So kind of the best of both worlds there. And as right now, the millennials are the largest purchasers of new RVs. They're getting out there right now with the work from home thing going on. Everybody's now able to work from home. Those that don't have anything to tie them down in a certain area, why not travel around the country, live someplace new every month or whatever you want. So they're traveling, hanging out in these campgrounds. We provide great Wi-Fi connections so they can do their work and provide, upload their Instagram pictures or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say about a revenue stream with a cell phone tower leasing on the ground. So I take it that's something you guys have looked into, huh?
I'm not sure we actually have looked into it just yet, but yeah, it's definitely something to consider for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because we in multifamily we hear people talking about leasing out their roofs to these cell phone tower companies. So fun stuff.
Yeah, and then and then just enjoy themselves. So that's a big push of what's really vamped us up in the last few years. So our investors again are going to receive great cash flows. On our average deal, what we target is typically at a conservative level between 12 to 15% cash on cash, with a maybe 2.5 to 3x multiple, over 5-year hold. So 28, 25% IRR. So typically about double what you're finding in most other multifamily syndications these days. And on top of that, of course, you can actually go to here and go have fun. So if you invest in the multifamily, of course, as you know, Angel, you're probably not going to go live there. You're not going to use one of the units for yourself, or same for self-storage. I guess you could use one if you wanted to, but it's not quite the same enjoyment you get from it. And you're not going to go hang out with your friends in the parking lot and have a barbecue or something. So these properties, you invest with us, you actually can go there, go have fun, create memories for you and your family, and enjoy being invested in this thing. And while you're there, talk to the people who are with you and about investing in real estate, and how great it is, and tell them you're invested in this property and kind of blow their minds. And with our investors that invest with us, we actually do provide up to 1 week free at any property you invest with us, and discounts in any other properties that we own. So a great perk there for investing with us.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So again, Beyond Direct, it's our campground management company. They manage our own properties as well as other third parties as well. They handle all the systemizations, the software, marketing, hiring and training of staff, pretty much everything that we need to do, even the CapEx, oversight or the things we're going to do these properties to expand and make them better on that. They'll handle all that for us. So it's just like having a property manager, but they manage all of our properties. So, how you can invest with us, of course, you can, step one, go to our website, happycampercapital.com. But you can invest with, of course, your own personal name cash. You can invest with an entity, LLC, or trust, or whatever, self-directed IRAs, all things that you can invest in other real estate things. So as of right now, we are syndicating each and every property as a 506B, and we purposely do them as 506B, which means you do not have to be an accredited investor, because we want to allow more people to have the opportunity to get into these types of deals to help them create wealth and become accredited investors over time. We are in the process of creating a 506C fund separate from this, so people that have different needs as an accredited investor that may not care so much about cash flow, or well, they'll still get cash flow anyway. But there's different things that those higher income people that are looking for, and we're going to provide that through that fund for them. But we still have our deals as 506Bs for the regular folk like myself that want to get in these types of deals and enjoy those cash flows. So being that 506B, of course, you need to know us. So if you don't know me or somebody from our team, step one would be that, get in contact with us to have a call, get to know you, get to know us, make sure that our goals align, what we're able to provide you meets your needs. And then when a new opportunity comes up, you'll see it on our investor portal. You can then click that you're interested in investing, and then receive the PPM documents and anything else you need to read through and sign, and then wire your funds. And then after that point, it's fully hands off. You'll get your quarterly cash flow distributions right away. We pay right up front, the very first quarter end. You'll see now we're at the end of August. If we were to close on something right now, well, actually we did close on 2 this month. So anything that closes on now will still get paid out at the end of this quarter. We don't hold back and make you wait 6 months or a year or anything. So great cash flows right from the start. As right now, this is our current portfolio, these 4 properties. It's over 850 rentable spaces, including, of course, RV spots, cabins, hotels, marinas. We have 2 in Iowa, 1 in Indiana, 1 in Missouri. The one in Missouri is basically, it's not on the Lake of the Ozarks, but it's in the Ozarks area. It's on the sister lake, Truman Reservoir. So great property with, huge marina, hotel, restaurants, all things there. And we've got several more that are coming up. And on top of that, we have just started a monthly educational webinar. So we're not here talking about our properties. We do those as a separate webinar for each individual deal. But these are educational webinars where people can come and learn about how to improve your personal finances, save on taxes, all kinds of things like that. So it's going to be the first Thursday of every month. Rare occasions it's not, like the one coming up in September. Actually, be on the second Thursday on September 8th. But we're shooting for the first Thursday of every month. Be at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. You can find that on our website on the blog tab there. And of course, we'll advertise that on all social media as well. And so there's information that's how you get hold of me. Also, go to happycampercapital.com. Learn more there. You can find my information there on the About Us tab as well, where you can schedule a call with me directly through my calendar link. Feel free to email me at don.spafford@happycampercapital.com. And my cell phone number is right there as well. That's actually my cell phone number. So 208-497-1408. I'm happy to talk to anybody and answer your questions and help you to achieve your financial dreams.
Wow. Number one, just seeing the change in you over the past year and a half has been wow. Yeah.
Thanks. I assume that's in a good way, but
yeah,
wow.
No, it's absolutely it's in a good way.
Yeah.
But wow, and Happy Camper is lucky to have you, or fortunate to have you, however you want to say it. Because you're just a wealth of knowledge and ability, and I'm really happy for you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely looking back a year and a half ago, I would never have imagined I'd be comfortable doing a presentation like this or doing the things I'm doing these days. First of all, just on top of just the deals I'm doing, but I was, those that know me know very well. I'm very much still a recovering introvert, we'll say. I still things like this do not come naturally to me, but I do what I have to do to make things happen. I can't just sit still and hope. I've got to get out there and do. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome. What was I listening to the other day? Oh, I remember. So it was actually a Dan Sullivan podcast talking about an interview with Chris Voss. It's Chris Voss, the one that does the negotiating.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how, there's that thought that in a situation, people are going to rise to the top, right? And what Voss is actually saying is that people don't rise to the situation. People fall back to their highest level of training. And so I think it's really neat that, you've put these systems in place to where like you've basically risen your level of training so that when you're in these situations that you're not comfortable in, you just fall back on it. And it's almost, sometimes I think about it like the way I do things too. Like, it's not so much that I've trained in how to handle it. It's that I feel like I have no other option.
Yeah.
I have no other option but to push. I have no other option than to get it done, because if I don't do it, who is?
Right. Yeah.
And that's how I feel on the teams.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of how I've been my whole life, honestly. Even back in, I guess, high school, whenever they start putting in groups to say, you're in a group project type thing. As much as I never wanted to, I'd always be the one to take the lead of it, because I'm usually most cases the one that cared about my grades. I want to make sure we got an A or whatever else. So I wasn't gonna rely on everybody else to do it. So I'm like, okay, let's do this and this and that and get done. So I guess I wouldn't call myself a natural leader, but I naturally will take that path if I have to. Obviously, if there's a stronger leader in the group, I'm happy to let somebody else take the lead. But when necessary, I've always, I guess, taken that step forward to make sure that something gets done to get the result I'm looking for.
Absolutely. I mean, if anybody looks at where you were in your trajectory, where you are now, and where you're probably going to be in the future, it's just exponential. So it's just a real visual, which is a visual of someone that has decided, hey, this is what I want, and the only way I'm going to get there is to take massive action. So good for you.
Yeah,
So I have a few questions about the RV parks. So we might be kind of looking at one. And I don't know a whole lot about them. Because like I said, up until recently, when I heard RV park, I thought like mobile home community.
Yeah.
Because most of the RV parks that I see around me are the same setup as a mobile home community. They're diagonally set, pop, 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 just in rows.
Yeah.
And
And a lot of
that's
you know, Texas, that's why we distinguish an RV park and then an RV. Sorry, just throwing in interjecting. Yeah, in the like areas like Texas, that's mostly you're gonna find a lot of the long term, and particularly around those like work camp areas, like the oil workers and things, as a place to stay while they're on the field or whatever.
That makes sense. Good stuff.
Resort or destination campground, you know, so very different realms, but there are many RV parks that are basically mobile home parks.
Yeah. So even when we started looking at lending options, it was that, how did it work? 20% have to be short-term rental, which I was like, well, that means y'all expect 80% to be long-term residents, which really pushed it back into my head that, oh, well, they're like mobile home communities. Because if the expectation is that the majority of the people staying there are long-term, then what is the difference?
Yeah, and I guess in regards to that point, not all lenders understand this model. So it takes a lot of calling around to find lenders that understand what we're doing. For example, even traditional, we'll say RV parks that are like mobile home parks. Even that, you know, many lenders probably won't do or they know very little about. So it takes a lot of, you know, calling around, networking, discussing different banks to those that actually do lend in this type of asset class, you know, particularly what we're doing, the resort style, where it's more like essentially a business more than you know, a building or a property that on its own has a value. So yeah, there's, you know, different lenders and different you know, as always, terms that they want or need. As far as the 20% short-term rental, I've never heard that one before. So yeah.
But I don't know enough to know that it's normal, abnormal. I mean, I have no clue. So I'm like, I think the reason why the number like stuck out to me is just because I hear numbers and I have a tendency to remember numbers. Sometimes I flip them around, but 2% doesn't make sense. So it had to be 20.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
but yeah, for the ones that we target again for these resort styles, you know, we specifically want the transient camper. So there's very little, if any, long-term stays on there.
So how do y'all handle all the different types of assets within that asset class? Let me clarify. So you're looking at an RV park. Maybe it has campsites, some with water and electricity, some with only water, some with only electricity, and then you got primitive campsites. And these are like straight up pitch a tent. Then you can also have RV sites with electric and water, or you can have RV sites that are boondock. Then you've got, I saw you had a hotel over there. I haven't seen that one before, but I've seen the ones that have a restaurant, or they have a bathhouse, or they have like a general store, convenience store. They've got laundry facilities. Some of them may have like a little water park, or like amenities that you don't think of when you think of these kinds of parks. So when you purchase something like that, how do you cover all the knowledge necessary, like how to run a convenience store? Because that's like, you know, first in, first out. So like on your shelves, you make sure you're first in, first out. You have to make sure that you've got somebody that's trustworthy enough to count the tills and actually deposit all the money. Someone that can schedule employees.
Yep.
So you need to have like your bookkeeper, your office managers. You need to have all of these things. And then if you've got amenities on the side, so now you've got, like we've got a Jellystone here and they do like hay rides and they have a little water park. And it's like, you have to have people that can manage those aspects. Mm-hmm. And then you also got primitive cabins. You've got fully functional cabins. You've got all of these things. And how do you find someone with enough knowledge to be able to manage all of those pieces? Because it's mind blowing.
Yep, and that's a great point. But you know, obviously, it can be done, as you mentioned, the Jellystone. You know, you got it down. But
that franchise does. They're all information because they figured it out.
Exactly. But yeah, it comes down to hiring great people. You know, so the people we have on hand that run the Beyonder Camp management company has you know, a long list of experience in hospitality, both outdoor hospitality and other forms like hotels and things. So we get people that are very knowledgeable in that space already, even much more knowledgeable than we are on that space to help run it and manage it properly. And then on each campsite, like you say, there'll be a campground manager that's going to be overseeing the entire operations of that specific campground. And then you know, they will be they'll have to staff on hand to handle all the other things, to run the convenience store, to you know, make sure people are getting what they need for the boat rentals, or you know, whatever else going on. Like you said, even to the point where we have some that have like a concert venue. We're going to schedule concert events. We got to make sure that gets scheduled and handled properly with all the things that are in and out of running a concert. So so there's a lot to it for sure. The ones that have a restaurant, obviously, we're not managing the restaurant. We just have the property, the building. We rent the building to a local restaurant that will come and run their own business there. So we don't have anything to do with running that part of it. But everything else is all.
So one thing I like that we do is we aren't afraid of getting a little bit into the weeds. We don't just keep it really super duper superficial. And that's why I think it's so important that we show these 1.5 times videos in these REI Rocks reviews. But if you want access to a whole whack of that, I just put more triangles over our faces, and theacademypresents.com/REI Rocks review is the link to go to, or you can scan that code. Angel, why don't you take it away on what people are getting?
Absolutely. So we are about to have our 7th summit here in a couple of months. And at that one, we will have well over 350 hours of expert content. But what you're looking at right now is you're looking at the past 6 summits. There's actually around 300 hours of content there that you're going to get access to go through at your own leisure for less than $20 a month. And it's a really amazing deal. And you're going to be going through all of this stuff. You're going to be going through it at 1.5, maybe even 2x speed, just to get the information. Because one of the coolest things about doing the summits and having the podcast and all those things is that I'm basically getting to learn one-on-one with all of these experts in the space. And I wouldn't be probably 1/10 of the investor that I am if I hadn't learned so much from all of the people around me that were taking the time to be a part of our summits. So it's a really smart thing to do.
Yep. I love that. And another thing that just hit me about the summits is we avoid direct competition. And I don't mean amongst ourselves. The thing is, like, it's a little bit weird to have Don on and then have one of his direct competitors as well. And so I think that's an important thing to keep in mind here is that when you're consuming this summit material, we're going to get closer to the truth. And it's not like a big pitch fest of like, hey, buy this person's course and buy that person's course and buy this person's whatever and the other thing. It really is a much better situation. So I think if you really want the straight goods and you want to learn really, really quickly for a low cost, I do think that subscription where you get access to these, like 300 hours, and then you can just fire away at 2 times speed. And then you also get your free ticket to the summit, which means that you can actually ask the questions that you came up with as you're attending and watching these different presentations. So we're almost done for today, but let's continue.
Basically handled through hospitality, I guess. It's to manage the convenience store is not really that complicated. Just some inventory. It's not it's not like a big giant Walmart or something. You typically have some random snacks and trinkets and little things that people are gonna need, drinks and whatnot. So it's not a whole lot to it really, but like I said, you gotta have somebody that can run it properly. To work there. Obviously, it's just a clerk, we'll say, and then the people that are overseeing that to make sure that things are being done properly. The inventory is being switched in and out, like you mentioned, and that hopefully nobody's stealing from us. So there's definitely a lot to it. We obviously can't guarantee that all that's going to run perfectly 100% of the time, but we'll do our best that we can to do that and make sure we have the right people in place to handle all that. And we want to make sure with those people that we hire to manage all that have the experience already ahead of time, that they've done it before. They have lots of experience, not just a brand new person that's never done this before to expect them to do it all. So yeah, there's a lot to it for sure. And that's our biggest expense on these properties is going to be the staff. You got to pay people to run all that.
Well, I'm just thinking about so we had a camp or an RV park here, and it was owned by a local lady. It's now Jellystone. So for whatever reason, sold out to the franchise, or maybe bought into the franchise to buy into the systems. I don't know how it works. But I have a friend that when people rent out, because it has like a rentable facility where people can hold they can hold seminars, or they can hold these different things there. And there's like a place where you can eat right off of that. And I have a friend that he's on the list of caterers. But like I had never thought about, you find somebody that wants to run a restaurant and rent out the restaurant. Instead, in my mind, I'm like, holy crap, you have to run a restaurant. You have to run this. You have to run this. But you could like basically sublet it all out or subcontract it out, only to be subcontracting to other businesses.
Right. Yeah. It's basically no different than holding like a commercial building that you rent out to, Verizon or whatever. But in this case,
but it's not like a triple net because it's more like a subcontract, right?
Well, it may depend, I guess, on what we negotiate. But in most cases, we would probably have like a triple net type thing. Maybe double net. We'll own and manage the building, and cover the exterior needs, roof and all that kind of stuff. But they handle, everything else.
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah. In particular case for restaurants, we prefer to have a local business do that, not us. We may have like a little like a bar and grill possibly that become more easier to operate. In fact, the one in Missouri has one, as well as that restaurant. But the full-on restaurant, we prefer to have, just rent out the building to local business to do that.
I wonder if you couldn't do the same thing with a convenience store, because the thing I've done is I've had a shave ice stand. It did very well. As a 19-year-old, I made what a lot of people make as a full-time income as an adult. And I was 19, but I'd been running stands since I was like 14 from my parents. And I just remember the necessity of first in, first out. And while my employees were young, it was so hard. I was like, this has an expiration date. We have to get this used before the expiration date. This one came in the order in May. Why is it still here in July? And it was just like getting that concept of first in, first out really into heads was very difficult. And I cannot, in my mind, it's so overwhelming to think you're running a campground with 4, 6, 8 different kinds of campground possibilities. And so somebody has to be knowledgeable about each one of those, which by the way, I throw out the word boondock like I really know what it is. I just know it's like a concrete pad, but it could be a gravel pad and you get no hookups. So your little RV has to be self-sufficient.
Right.
So it's kind of like primitive camping, but not in a camp, like not in a tent. You're in an RV.
Yeah.
So you get AC. That's like the big difference.
Right.
But I mean, it's like I can throw around terms. I can say, oh, that's primitive camping, or oh, that's stepped up camping. I mean, I can throw those terms around, but if it boiled down to it, I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough about those differences to be an effective manager of any sort. Because it's not just knowing those types of campgrounds, it's making sure that you understand how the scheduling works. Even if you're using a program that's doing it for you, you're still gonna have to field phone calls of, well, hey, can I rent it this day? And you're looking at the scheduling. And so it has to integrate well with people that are online doing stuff and people that are calling in to reserve times and reserve spots. And I mean, having gone to different Boy Scout camps, or not even Boy Scouts, but having gone to different BSA Scouts camps, you get there and it's really easy for your site to be given away. And Scouts have been around forever. They should be really good at this. And so to take on something big like an RV park, I can only think of the number of mistakes that someone that's not really, really educated in how to do it could make.
Right.
And I mean, I know that's like a really negative scarcity mindset, but I'm just like, that's where I start out at. I start out with, oh my gosh, all the things that could go wrong.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's you know, the same mindset that holds most people back from doing anything. You know, that's what almost held me back from buying that first property. It's like, what if this goes wrong? What if this happens? You know, but you know, like with me, I got over that fear and push forward, and you know, here I am today doing this. But yeah, there's obviously, you know, there's, like I said, not everything's gonna run perfect all the time. But you know, luckily we have, you know, enough between the technology for the, like I said, the software systems that can manage all that, and the right people that know how to manage it, even when that software is not working. Then you know, it makes it much smoother and less worrisome. And you know, in the end, you know, the worst case scenario, I mean, usually, hopefully, nobody's lives are at stake. So you know, whether you camp here or camp there, you know, you still get a camp spot. You know, not that big of a you know, a deal to most people. So yeah, but you know, what's great is, again, we typically do, or not typically, we do have the software to handle most of that reservations online, as most people these days do online reservations. Currently, most of the, like, we'll say mom and pop campgrounds, all they do is take phone call reservations, which these days most people don't like making phone calls. So for that reason alone, they may go to one down the road where they can reserve online. You know, so we have that capability to handle that and know exactly where they're going, and of course still can take phone calls for those that need to, and have all that integrated. They just would go on to the software just same as anybody else would online, and still find what's available and get them in the right place. So there's not too much worry with that kind of stuff.
Do they generally prefer to pay with credit cards, or is cash even a thing?
Well, definitely with online reservations, you didn't do credit card, obviously.
Right.
There's, you know, I'd say most everything's run credit card. It just even if you're coming there in person, you know, but in most cases you're reserving ahead of time anyway. You're not just showing up and getting a spot, because you're most likely not going to get one. So you know, you definitely, I'd say most people don't want to just show up and hope for a spot, because you're you know, unless you're maybe middle of the week and a slow time of the year, then maybe you could. But in most cases, people are making reservations like 6 months or more in advance just to get in. So yeah, it'd all be credit card, and there may be some, of course, on site use cash like the convenience store and stuff. But I mean, personally, I don't really ever use cash, you know, anywhere, for the most part, unless I get some from somebody. I'm like, well, I gotta use this now. But you know, I do everything with, you know, bank cards and things. So yeah,
Makes sense. Good stuff.
really. You know, and for the most part, you know, our investors don't need to worry about any of that either, because that's all taken care of through the people we have that handle all that. You know, and just know that you're going to get great returns. But yeah, so the great thing, like you said, for these places,
we're taking care of all the stuff. You're just going to get the money in your account.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, we do, like you mentioned, that, you know, there are typically on these sites going to have venues to do like wedding receptions or corporate retreats kind of thing. You know, seminars, whatever. So that's always available. You know, family reunions. People come out of these places all the time for things like that as well. Just to have enough space to hold a large group, and kind of more fun atmosphere where they can, while they're done or while they're doing that, go out and go play on the lake or you know, whatever. So yeah, it's just a huge opportunity. And the great thing about it too is there's almost unlimited upside. So all those things you mentioned, the convenience stores and all these things, you know, those are all separate line items that you add on something new that just brings in more income. You know, so we can have paddleboard rentals, jet ski rentals, boat rentals. You know, have a local fisherman take you out on a boat to go fishing or something. Horseback riding trails and ATV rentals, you know, go-karts, all kinds of different things, you know, and activities that each of them on their own can bring in additional income for the property. So typically something you can't really do with multifamily or self-storage or anything else. You know, you have your typical your rental income, maybe a few other things like laundry or something, but that's about it. You're almost limited as far as what else you can do and as how high you can push the rents to get the market, you know, returns you can get for it. Whereas this, yeah, whatever you can think of to do, you can probably figure out a way to make it happen. Even on campgrounds where, you know, we get the question a lot is, you know, what do you do with the seasonality? Ones that are like farther in the northern states that, you know, get snow and stuff. People aren't camping as much in winter. Well, some people still do, but yeah, there's likely going to be a lot less. But again, we still have on these sites cabins that people might want to come rent for like a winter retreat or whatever, family gatherings. We can also still charge for RV storage or boat storage. We need a place to put them when they're not using them. We get a lot of traveling nurses that actually stay at these places. They have their own RV and they're just camp there while they're working at the hospital over nearby. And then also some things that you kind of think outside the box. What else can you do to generate income during the off season? We on at least one of our properties so far, we'll probably do this on more of our properties. We've actually joined up with a local business that does a drive-through Christmas light display. So we'll have him bring his lights and set them up in the place and charge people to drive through and see his lights, and then we'll share the profits with him. So it's one of those things that you would never really think of beforehand when you think, what else can I do with this property? So and I'm sure there's lots more that we haven't thought of yet ourselves that we'll get to go at some point. But yeah, it's just a really cool opportunity to just get creative and have fun.
So are the resort style RV destinations, are those still, do y'all still join the programs like Good Sam or like the KOA Association? Do y'all still do things like that?
Yeah, so Good Sam, we are obviously linked with them because that's how people typically find campgrounds. KOA is actually, it would be a competitor of ours now with Beyonder Camp. So
Sorry.
so we actually we hopefully try to purchase properties from KOA people. In particular, even as far as the management goes, because also KOA is a franchise, so they have their way of doing things. We have our way of doing things. So for someone that owns campground that wants to choose a management system or a franchise to use, obviously KOA is a no name, but they have there's things that have to be exactly how they want them and nothing else. We are more flexible in that aspect. We want each campground to be unique and have its own spirit and not be like a cookie cutter campground for everywhere you go. So people would possibly like that aspect better. And we are maybe a little bit more affordable as well.
There's another program like Good Sam. It's like called Harvest Campers.
Maybe.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna
No.
give it to you because I've met more people in Class A's at my friend's winery, and they are one of the destination stops.
Nice.
And it's
Very cool.
not huge. It's not like a bunch of people stay, and they have to boondock. But they might have 3, 4, 5 people staying there overnight.
Yeah.
On their way somewhere else, and
right.
I'll find the name of it and I'll send it to you because I thought it was a pretty cool idea. And now that you've said, hey, no, KOA is a competitor, I got a better idea of because Good Sam is more of a listing.
Yep.
And you get a little sticker. And so this other one is probably closer to that because it has all of the destinations you can stay at. And then there's a monthly fee. And so some you have to stay, you don't pay to stay. Some of them it's a minimal fee if you're a member of this organization.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
I'm all over the place. I don't know that much about these things, but when I hear things, I kind of remember them. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And I have a friend that's in Good Sam.
Very good. Yeah. Now you mentioned Class A. I'm just referring to the Class A motorhomes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's when we think about that, those Class A motorhomes again are quite expensive, right?
Yeah. The one we stepped into had marble flooring.
Wow. Yeah. So I've seen some like celebrity ones that they spend like $2 million for their thing that they can use like once every 5 years. So I don't know, but anyway, so people that spend on those, you think about that, they're going to these campgrounds as well. What's kind of also unique about this niche is in often cases the people that are using our campgrounds, like those people with those Class A motorhomes, could potentially also be our investors. Right? They can invest in our deals with us and use them. So in most cases, again referring to multifamily, your tenants are probably not going to be investing in your deals with you at some point. Maybe once in a while a few, but usually not in most cases. In our case, they're our exact type of investor we're looking for. People that use these campgrounds, they know it, they understand it, and want to profit from it.
I bet the one that we walked into, I bet it was $500,000.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. It was nicer than my house.
Yeah, most of them are. Maybe my house. Not trying to shake your house, but yeah, most people's houses. I'd say, those places are really nice.
Yeah, it just kind of blew me away. So I will find that group too, and I'll send it your way because it's yeah. I wasn't even thinking before. I was just thinking campgrounds, RV parks. Who do I know that does those? That's awesome stuff. Don, thank you so much. And I am so proud to be a part of your circle. Just don't forget the little people. The bigger you get, remember us from afar.
Yeah, no worry. I'm still a little person myself, so I don't forget.
Yeah, but if you stay on this trajectory, you're gonna be huge. You're doing huge things.
I still try to stay humble, and so I'm not planning to change my lifestyle anytime soon. So
understood.
No worries there.
Oh, well, I'm glad. And guys, hang out, come over to the live side, get into some interactive live side activities. Don can tell you it's a great thing to be a part of, and we would love to have you over there. There should be an email that you've gotten. If not, you can go to the website and look for the place to register, and you can come join us on the live side. Other than that, until we meet again.
See ya. Nice beats.
Cool. Yeah.
I guess unmuting makes it better, but yeah, it's funny. I was actually a little bit concerned that the video was going to be longer than it was, but this is really awesome because we get to go straight to the doggy bag, the takeaways from this session. So, Jason, did you have something you want to contribute so that you're adding more than your presence?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, that my computer's bugging out on me. No, it's pretty good. RV parks. I was doing modeling for RV parks. way different than multifamily, and you can have a successful RV park at 20% occupancy, whereas you probably can't with multifamily.
Wow. Yeah, break even at 20%. That's really something. Holy smokes. How about you, Angel?
Well, I think that it's just important to have some level of diversification. I think it's okay to be all in on real estate, but maybe not all in on a particular type, whether that be residential or multifamily or RV parks. Or I think it's a good idea to have a lot of different things going on, because every type of real estate is going to have a different level of recession resistance. And times are going to be hard. I mean, they just are. They're going to be a little hard.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a good idea to look at these alternative investment options, and don't be freaked out when you see the numbers, because they're all different and they all give way different returns.
So I think at the end of the day, what's really going on is equity multiples are like the whole story when it comes to actually, building and preparing for retirement or financial independence. So, that's the thing that why, like, you definitely have to be in something where your capital is deployed and then it's keeping up with and or beating inflation. But that's really what the big players, like the super wealthy, are up to. They're only interested in taking over things where the amount the amount of value in their nest egg is way higher, or they're going to go for cash flow, and then everything else, as far as assets goes, they're going to be like, well, you can just keep it, because if it's not making me a lot wealthier or providing a ton of cash flow, then it's just responsibility. So that's what goes through my head when it comes to all this stuff anyway. But it's really exciting having. Well, I guess that's the other thing that I want to mention for anybody in the audience who's really concerned about my opinion. It's the like at the end of the day, like when you understand how real estate, and especially commercial real estate, is priced, then you understand how risk in general is priced. So when somebody is doing a syndication, they have to be able to beat the REITs, right? Like any REIT that's out there, you have to be able to outperform them, because people are just going to have the perception that their money's safer with a REIT. And so like as more risk is added, or at least unfamiliarity, right? Because like Angel, I've heard you say a bunch of times that a confused mind says no.
Mhm.
And I think that there's no time where it's more true than when you're talking about investments. And and it's kind of scary to be like consuming real estate content, because half the time you're hearing people say, it's like, oh, well, there's a lot more money like sitting around in your 401k. And it's like, well, that's overtly saying that, yeah, we're interested in your life savings here. And that makes that's a red flag in general. But really, like, that's the name of the game. It's like, well, how safe is your savings in anything at all? And when you are syndicating, you're offering partnership. You're either a GP, a general partner, or an LP, a limited partner, and both have the word partner in it. So, and really what you're doing is you're getting a piece of real estate and then a business attached to it. And so if it's less familiar, like RV parks, then like you have to offer investors a little bit more. But Don, just the fact that there is that kind of opportunity, it hats off to you. I've always been impressed by that move. Like how you zagged when everybody else was.
Thanks. Yeah, and that's I guess that's kind of always been my, I don't know if you call it a personal thing. I guess I've never liked being a follower for most cases. I want to be something do things that are different, and unique. Because the way I've seen things is, when you follow that herd mentality and you do what everybody else is doing, then you're missing out on probably better opportunities. The majority of people that follow what everybody else is doing only because they don't know what else to do, and they're they could drive you off a cliff, basically. So, like everybody jumped on the bandwagon to get into the Bitcoin or something. Now they're suffering from that, or onto the whole was it GameStop and those kind of things that everybody else is doing this, I better get on too, and then then they lose out. So, I prefer to stick to my own thing. What speaks to me and what draws my attention. And if it is something everyone's doing, fine. But in most cases, it's usually not. I like being unique and different because I'm, I guess, unique and different. So, I tend to follow what works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
All right.
So,
I was just gonna say, Don, thanks for being here, and for helping us review your session. And it was just really awesome. And for those of you that like hearing everything Don had to say, guess what? He's going to be at the next summit too. So you're going to make sure that you have your subscription so that you get that free VIP upgrade so that you get to be a part of the live side. So make sure you take care of that. And I don't know where the link is, but we'll find the link for you and we'll get it to you because you absolutely want to be a part of the summit.
Yep.
These are people that are actively doing deals in the space right now. And they can answer your questions, and they have a really good feel for what's going on in the craziness of this economy. So,
And when is the summit, Jason?
March 23rd, 24th, and 25th.
Absolutely.
Exactly. That's why you rely on the numbers guys, because he gets it right. Anyway, so this has been the REI Rocks Review. We do this every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's all about commercial real estate, what it takes to stay in this business, what it takes to get into this business. And thanks a lot, Angel. This has been fantastic, everybody. Don, thanks for being our guest again. This has been fantastic.
My pleasure. Yeah, well, glad I could be here without having a W-2.
Yeah, for sure, right? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, see you, everybody. Bye-bye.
See ya.